I'd been with Lu Ruyan for 3 whole years. She ate my food, lived in my house, and even the underwear she wore was bought for her in bulk by me, 9 out of 9 pairs. I initially thought she was a poor, beautiful girl from a humble school, orphaned and struggling alone in society. But I never imagined she was actually a rich princess. She was just tired of gourmet food and wanted a change, something simpler. I clicked on a video trending on social media, a woman casually leaning against a luxury car, smiling faintly at the camera. The video was only a few seconds long. I watched it dozens of times. This video broke yesterday. The title was Makoto Ito attends event with newcomer, suspected relationship exposed. Makoto Ito is a rising star and a wealthy tycoon, known in the entertainment industry for his genuine personality. He's 30 and unmarried but never hides his relationships, and each girlfriend he's been linked to is younger and prettier than the last. Every time a relationship is exposed, many people beg him to teach them how to be a player. When this video first broke, my best friend Song-yi immediately forwarded it to me, jokingly asking, "This beauty looks just like Lu Ruyan. What's going on? Are you so desperate for money that you're forcing her to sell herself in the entertainment industry?" Before I could reply, Song-yi posted another "Holy crap. This isn't just like her, this is Lu Ruyan. Go check the trending topics." I clicked on the trending topics, completely confused. And then, at the top of the trending list, I saw the video from before. And I really didn't expect that such a simple entertainment news story could have so many twists and turns. At first, someone said Lu Ruyan was a film school freshman and was with Ito Makoto for money and fame, trying to squeeze into the entertainment industry. But soon someone debunked that, saying Lu Ruyan wasn't from the film school at all. She was a clown, from an average family, and worked part-time to pay her tuition. She was probably kept by Ito Makoto because she was short of money. This person even posted her student ID as evidence. But not long after, this revelation was twisted again. Someone dug up that Lu Ruyan is actually the little princess of Fengjung Group, the only daughter of CEO Lu Haidong. Not only is she a rich second generation, but she's the most powerful among them. She's usually low-key and hardworking. She studied diligently simply to prove her abilities. From a young age, Ito Makoto had always been her ideal type. However, after 5 years of persistent pursuit, he never reciprocated. Lu Ruyan's high-profile appearance this time was because Ito Makoto was being bullied by the event organizers, prompting her to act out in anger, showing up in a luxury car to support her beloved man. Ito Makoto's tacit acceptance of her presence is likely a tacit acknowledgement of her feelings. Soon after this trending topic appeared a photo of Lu Ruyan, with sharp eyes, confronting a short, plump middle-aged woman. Meanwhile, Ito Makoto hid behind her. The usually aloof and imposing handsome man, standing beside the radiant woman, had eyes full of doting tenderness. This photo went viral, trending on social media. At the same time, my chat history with Lu Ruyan on my phone remained stuck on the last night when she told me she was tired and missed me, asking me to go for hot pot tomorrow. What was my reply? "All right," I said, "don't work too hard. If you're tired of part-time jobs, don't do them. I have money, I can support you." But now, looking back, in front of Lu Ruyan, his attempt to appear wealthy was utterly ridiculous. After all, Lu Ruyan in the video was decked out in designer brands I didn't recognize. The watch on her wrist alone was worth over $1 million. How could I, a working-class person earning less than $3,000 a month, pretend to be rich in front of her? He hasn't replied to the link I sent. I typed and deleted the text in the chat box, typed and deleted again, but I still couldn't decide what to say. I wanted to ask him what was going on, whether he was really a rich heiress, and what his relationship with Ito Makoto was. Even though it was trending, I still held on to a sliver of hope that he would explain himself, that it was all a misunderstanding, that he had lied to me, but that he was forced into it. But before I could even send a single word, I received a message from him: "Let's break up." I was stunned. My hands moved faster than my brain to send the question: "Why are you done playing around? What about the things you left at my house? Just throw them away, they're worthless anyway." I was dragged out drinking by Song-yi. He said it was rare for me to be heartbroken, and if I didn't drown my sorrows in alcohol, I'd be letting down all the dog food he'd endured for the past 3 years. The bar was brightly lit and noisy. Song-yi clinked glasses with me and reassured me, "It's okay. Lu Ruyan is so beautiful. You're lucky to have slept with her. Otherwise, with your salary, you couldn't even find a girl like that. This is a blessing." I downed my drink in one gulp, frowned at Song-yi, and said, "Don't talk to a girl like that." He smiled sheepishly, never mind. Let's drink. The music blared. Song-yi said, "Let's drink. But actually, I have a very low alcohol tolerance, I get dizzy after just one drink. And I have to go to work tomorrow." Looking at the few unanswered messages from the client in the group chat, I sighed heavily. A working person shouldn't drown their sorrows in alcohol. After dropping Song Yi off at his doorstep, I took a taxi home. I actually wanted to cry, but I held back. I wanted to message him, but I held back again. Besides that, I mostly felt it was absurd. I'm really trying to save money to buy a house and put it in his name. After all, he told me his family isn't well off, so he's never. I felt safe. But 3 whole years. All those moments we shared, were they all a lie? He just said he was done playing around and that was it. I finally got home and got out of the car. A sudden gust of wind made me even more dizzy. I sat down by the roadside, hoping to clear my head before going upstairs. But I hadn't been sitting down long when someone walked by, blocking the streetlight. I looked up and saw Lu Ruyan's face. She had changed into a pure black dress, her hair was styled in big waves, and her expensive accessories made her look radiant. She seemed to belong to a completely different world from me. She looked down at me, her gaze distant. "Why are you so disheveled? Are you really that reluctant to part with me?" I froze, speechless. Her eyes were cold, like a stranger's. I'd never seen her like this before. She used to always smile. When we made eye contact, she'd suddenly lean in and pull me into her arms, asking in a slightly coquettish voice, "Brother, did you love me any more today?" I'd always shake my head and say no. Then he'd tickle me, forcing me to take back my answer. But now, those memories made my heart ache. I took a deep breath, suppressing my tears, and forced myself to ask him, why? He didn't answer, just waved his hand. A Maybach pulled up from the intersection and stopped nearby. The door opened, and several people got out. One girl, with striking red hair, walked towards me, stopping in front of me. "You poor wretch, do you still recognize me?" It took me a long time to remember who she was. Imushi, oh. Remember me? I thought you'd forgotten. Imushi took a step back and took Lu Ruyan's arm. Her grin was exactly the same as 4 years ago. I met Imushi when I was a sophomore. I was studying at a university. To pay for my tuition, I worked part-time, one of which was tutoring. Imushi was my first student. He came from a wealthy family, but his grades were terrible, and he was very playful. He was well behaved on the first day, but by the second lesson, he started playing tricks. He threw 500 yuan at me and asked me to help him. After hiding his truancy, he planned to jump out the window to attend a party. I didn't take his money, but I couldn't stop him. Worried about him getting hurt, I called his mother. Unexpectedly, Yi's mother, who was so gentle to me, was excessively strict when disciplining her child. Imushi was slapped and put in solitary confinement for a long time. Because of this, he started to resent me, constantly harassing me at a university, demanding I pay and apologize. But as a tutor, notifying the parents when the child leaves is my duty. His being beaten was unexpected. I felt sorry, but didn't think I had done anything wrong. Therefore, I ignored Imushi, pretending he didn't exist. And he really didn't show up again. I thought he was just a flash in the pan and had forgotten about it, but I never expected our reunion to be like this. Imushi observed my expression, seemingly knowing I remembered, and arrogantly pointed to Lu Ruyan beside him, saying, "This is my sister. You know she's with you to get revenge for me." Lu Ruyan frowned, seemingly wanting to say something but holding back, though she ultimately said nothing. But I understood everything. Suddenly, I felt a little like laughing. I looked up at Imushi and asked, "So now that you've finished your revenge, are we even?" Imushi was taken aback, seemingly not expecting this reaction. She frowned, then nodded hesitantly. "Sure. I vented my anger anyway. But aren't you angry?" I shook my head, laughing even more broadly. "There's nothing to be angry about. A bet's a bet. That's all. I'm going home now. Have fun, ladies." I turned and left. As I went upstairs, I could still faintly hear muttering behind me. "No way, how come this guy isn't sad at all? That shouldn't be. Has my charm worn off? We've been together for 3 years, and he hasn't even shown any interest." After turning off the alarm, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind a jumble. I didn't sleep well last night, or rather, I barely slept at all. I searched online for answers on how to get over a breakup quickly. The top-rated answers were crying, finding something to do, reading, thinking. But I sat on the sofa for ages, trying to cry, but I just couldn't. So I started packing all my belongings. Before moving, this apartment was a 2-bedroom, 1 living room unit. It was big, but actually quite far from my workplace. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have rented it in the first place. Now that we've broken up, I can move out directly. But while packing, I realized that Lu Ruyan didn't have many things, and most of them were things I bought for her. No wonder she said she didn't want them anymore, they really weren't worth much. I went to bed at 4 a.m. and turned off the lights. I tossed and turned, staring at my phone screen, refreshing it repeatedly, switching between several apps, but I couldn't concentrate on a single word on the screen. A faint ray of sunlight pierced the room through the curtains, and then the alarm clock rang. I got up with dark circles under my eyes, showered, changed clothes, and did a few sets of strength training. Finally, I looked a bit better and didn't look so ghostly. I grabbed my bag, ready to head out and squeeze onto the subway as usual, but suddenly there was a knock at the door. I was a little confused, pulling my hand back from the doorknob. Looking through the peephole, I only saw a red flickered in my vision. Hesitating, I opened the door, only to find myself face to face with Imushi, who had banged her head against it but missed. I was startled and instinctively frowned. "It's you?" His eyes lit up, as if he'd seen a savior. He pushed everything in his hands in front of me. "I'm here to apologize. I'm sorry, I was wrong before. I was petty. Please forgive me, please don't hold it against me." I took a few steps back, not taking the things from his hands. They were several exquisitely wrapped bags. Without exception, they were all printed with luxury brand logos. There was also a bag containing cash. "What do you mean by this?" Mushi looked defeated when I didn't take the things. "I just wanted to apologize to you." "Really?" I stared at him for a few seconds and asked, "Did Lu Ruyan send you?" He was taken aback. "Shake your head." "No, my sister doesn't know about this." A male voice suddenly rang out, interrupting Mushi's stammering. "I sent him." "I'm sorry, Mr. Shao." And along with the voice appeared a man who walked out from around the corner of the stairs. The man was wearing a mask. He was wearing sunglasses, completely obscuring his face, but his tall, well-proportioned figure and understated yet high-quality clothing perfectly highlighted his status. He stepped forward and stood next to Imushi, then removed his sunglasses in front of me and extended his hand. "Hello, let me introduce myself. I'm Ito Makoto, and I'm Xiaoxi's older brother. I heard about their prank on you, so I brought him here to apologize." I was a little surprised that Ito Makoto was Imushi's brother, but upon reflection, it was somewhat expected. Lu Ruyan and Mushi is a friend. She also angrily confronted the event organizers on behalf of Ito Makoto. Since they're both rich kids and in the same circle, it's obvious they know each other. But regarding what he said later, I shook my head. "You don't need to apologize to me. It wasn't all Mushi's fault. She's too immature." Lu Ruyan couldn't resist Mushi's persistent pestering and was forced to participate in this ridiculous prank. So ultimately, it's my fault for not raising my sister well. An apology is appropriate. As she spoke, she took the bags from Mushi's hands, without any room for argument. He stuffed it into my hand, saying, "This is a little gift we bought on the street, consider it compensation. Also, Lu Ruyan and I are getting engaged soon. I know you two dated for a while, but everyone knows it was just a misunderstanding. So I hope you won't bother her anymore. Is that okay?" This was Lu Ruyan's wish. The man in front of me nodded, smiling gracefully. I didn't know how he saw me, but at that moment, I felt like a shameful clown. After the breakup, I felt sad and a little heartbroken, but before that, I hadn't really hated Lu Ruyan that much. Because I always felt that even if the beginning was wrong, even if the ending wasn't dignified, after 3 years of getting along, he should at least know what kind of person I am. I don't care if he has money, and I certainly won't abandon my dignity and shame to chase after him for his money. But the man in front of me still smiled politely, as if he hadn't seen my change in expression, and asked again, "Mr. Shao, you should be able to do that, right?" After typing a single word, I finished organizing the plan and sent it to the team leader for confirmation. Even though I was exhausted and my head was spinning, I couldn't help but think of what Ito Makoto said to me this morning before he left. I told him, "Don't worry, since we've broken up, I won't contact my ex again, no matter if he's a rich kid or not. So you can take these things, I don't need them." I put the bags back at Ito Makoto's feet, but he didn't even lower his head, smiling and saying, "These are just little trinkets, not worth much. If Mr. Shao doesn't like them, then throw them away." When he said those words, it was just like Lu Ruyan's casual remark, seemingly without any malice, yet inexplicably making the listener feel immensely humiliated. Because of this, I couldn't help but think of when it was Lu Ruyan's birthday. I worked myself to the bone, scrimping and saving to buy him a gift, presenting what he considered cheap trinkets to him like precious treasures. He probably thought I was ridiculous then. My colleague tapped on my desk, and I snapped out of my reverie, asking what was wrong. He just smiled and said, "Didn't you see the group chat? I've been looking for you for ages. He wants you in his office." Okay, I got it. I quickly suppressed those chaotic thoughts and went into the manager's office. The manager had called me in about the same old issue. The company was going to hold a car show in Shenzhen, and the branch office lacked experience, so they needed to transfer someone from headquarters to oversee the project. The offer was a promotion and doubled salary. The only problem was that even after the project ended, I might need to stay in Shanghai for at least 6 months. About 2 weeks ago, when the news first came out, the manager had already contacted me. I declined then because I lacked experience, but the manager probably already knew. Ju was just making excuses, that's why she asked me again. This time I didn't refuse. A week later, everything was packed. I left the useless things in the rented apartment and left the luggage I couldn't take with Song Yi, planning to have him send it to me after I found a place to stay in Shenzhen. The company in Shenzhen booked a hotel for me, so I went straight there after I got off the plane for a farewell dinner. Song Yi insisted on having hot pot, so we went to the same place we used to frequent when we were in school. When choosing the broth, I habitually opted for a half and half pot. Song Yi looked puzzled and asked, "Wait a minute, when did you stop eating spicy food?" I was a little confused. I do eat spicy food. Then why did you order a half and half pot? We both eat spicy food. It was only then that I belatedly noticed the small checkmark on the back of the half and half pot. Because Lu Ruyan doesn't eat spicy food, when we first got together, we rarely ate hot pot. She thought it was too noisy and preferred eating at home. But then, I don't know when it started, she would proactively ask me if I wanted to go eat hot pot. Back then, we ordered a 9-compartment pot, and she ate it while sweating profusely, surviving on ice water. After the meal, I barely ate anything, just filled up on water. But as we left the hot pot restaurant, he was still stubbornly insisting, "Thanks to you, brother. I think I can handle spicier food than before." Looking at his handsome profile under the streetlights, with his slightly childlike, silly smile, my heart inexplicably softened. After that, we only ate Enyang hot pot. When I came to my senses, Song Yi had already taken the menu and quickly ordered the side dishes. He asked if I wanted to add any more meat. I shook my head and said no, just order whatever you want. Don't try to save me money. We joked around and burst into laughter. The conversation swirled from one topic to another, but we both tacitly avoided mentioning the real reason I was leaving. The real reason I decided to leave was that I didn't have to work tomorrow. We had both been drinking. I was just slightly flushed and a little unsteady on my feet, but Song Yi was completely drunk. He leaned close to my ear and sang The Lone Warrior, singing off-key and cracking his voice. I was holding onto him with one hand while using the other to pay the bill. In a moment of inattention, while scanning the code, he slipped away. After finally finishing the payment, I found him leaning against the counter, talking to other customers at a table. "Hey beautiful, you seem like a scumbag," I thought. I was completely exasperated. I rushed over, grabbed him, and hurriedly apologized to the customers she had disturbed. But then someone called out my name. "Xiao Jibua, what a coincidence." I realized that one of the people sitting at the table was Imushi. I froze, a bad feeling creeping over me. If Imushi was here, what if? I stiffly turned my head. Sure enough, I saw Lu Ruyan sitting not far away. Song Yi was still stubbornly pointing at her, saying, "Little girl, you're really a scumbag. In my opinion, you should spend the rest of your life doing good deeds and accumulating merit. You'd better shave your head and become a nun to atone for the people you've wronged." Lu Ruyan, with Song Yi pointing at her nose, remained unmoved, just staring straight at me. The 4 people at the table fell silent, no one dared to utter a sound. I felt incredibly embarrassed, my scalp tingling with embarrassment. I deeply regretted indulging Song Yi earlier, drinking that last bottle of beer. I finally managed to calm him down and coax him towards the door, but he wouldn't cooperate, struggling violently. "Don't stop me, I'm a fortune teller." By the time I finally dragged Song Yi out of the hot pot restaurant and squatted at the door, I was drenched in sweat. While using my phone to call a taxi, I pleaded with Song Yi, "Please, be quiet for a bit." He looked at me for a moment, then suddenly sniffed. "Old Xiao, for a woman, you've abandoned your buddies. Are you even a friend?" The drunkard's face gradually turned red. His eyes welled up with tears, and he started sobbing, clutching my sleeve. The 2 men were pulling and tugging at each other, which was really strange. Passers-by were all looking this way. But I knew Song Yi truly considered me family. For a moment, my nose stung too. I wanted to get him a tissue to wipe his tears, but I couldn't find one in my pockets. Then I heard a familiar voice behind me. A slender, white hand reached out to me, holding a pretty handkerchief. I didn't take it. Instead, I used my sleeve to wipe Song Yi's tears. The man withdrew his hand and asked calmly, "Did you block me?" I still didn't answer, lowered my head, hailed a taxi, and then helped Song Yi to the roadside to wait. But he caught up and grabbed my sleeve. I forcefully shook his hand off, a hint of anger rising within me. Lu Ruyan, are you crazy? You were the one who said you were done playing around and wanted to break up. You were the one who told me to behave and not harass you. What are you doing now? After I shook him off, his brows furrowed, but he only managed to say 3 words. I'm sorry. But all I found it funny was that he said, Lu Ruyan, don't you think your apology is a little late? He saw me laughing, but frowned and said, if you're upset, just yell at me. I was indeed a little upset, but now I really don't care. Even raising a cat or a dog for 3 years would leave some feelings. But you don't deserve it, you really don't deserve it. So now I just feel fortunate. The sooner we broke up, the sooner I'm free. My phone vibrated. It was the driver calling. I saw the taxi parked on the side of the road. I turned off the screen, turned around, and said goodbye. I hope we never see each other again. After getting home, I received a friend request. There was no profile picture or nickname. The request message only had 3 words, I'm sorry. I easily guessed who sent the message. I ignored it, but the other person persisted, using several different accounts. Finally, they seemed to realize I wouldn't fall for it and resignedly filled in I'm sorry. Brother, I really know I was wrong, but can you give me a chance to explain? I found it laughable. I only replied to the last message. What was there to explain? Was it to explain that I was a liar? Or that I was two-timing and wanted a peaceful breakup, then invited me to my wedding with Makoto Ito? This time, the other person finally quieted down. Upon arriving in Shenzhen, the branch office arranged for someone to pick me up. The person held a sign with my name on it. Long hair flowing down her shoulders, she was strikingly beautiful and aloof, but because her presence was so prominent, she stood out noticeably among the group of girls welcoming their idols. Hello, Xiao Jibua, I said, extending a hand. Hello, Yang Yangi, I replied. Manager of the planning department at Shenzhen University. My new boss is named Yang Yi, so I was momentarily stunned when I heard that name. I thought you would send your assistant. Yang Yi explained, my assistant took leave. Her cat is about to give birth. Taking leave to give birth? Is the work atmosphere at the branch office that relaxed? Yang Yi smiled and led me around, saying, yes, it's convenient for slacking off. So you won't regret coming. I laughed too. A witty and humorous new boss is a good thing. The tension of leaving home and moving to a new city was somewhat dispelled. On the drive to the hotel, Yang Yi briefly introduced the branch office and the work I would be taking over. The workload was considerable, but relatively easy to get started with. However, since I had just been transferred and wasn't familiar with my new colleagues, we would definitely need some time to work together. Upon arriving at the hotel and checking in, I realized my original plan was to wait until things settled down before renting an apartment over the weekend. But in the car, Yang Yi told me that because of a large exhibition, I would be very busy for a while. Since I had arrived a few days early and wouldn't report to the company until next Monday, I should find an apartment in the next few days. Just as I contacted a real estate agent and was about to leave, I suddenly received a message from Song Yi. Lao Xiao and Lu Ruyan were looking for me. He asked if I had moved and where I was now. I frowned. I thought my response yesterday had been clear enough. I really didn't understand the point of his persistent pestering. His competitive spirit. Because of my indifference, he felt his charm was being underestimated. I sent Song Yi a voice message, firmly telling him not to tell him anything, no matter what he asked. I knew I hadn't said anything. But he seemed to have drunk too much and even cried. He said that initially he approached you because of Imushi, but after being with you, he had truly fallen for you. He originally wanted to find an opportunity to explain everything and reveal his identity, but he was afraid of hurting you, so he kept delaying. He didn't expect you to see that video first. He said quite a lot, but I can't remember it all. Why don't you listen to his explanation? I said. No need, there's nothing to explain. Back then, I understood how hard he was working on his master's degree. To let him do fewer part-time jobs and focus on his studies, I worked myself to the bone, even being hospitalized at one point. But he clearly knew everything, yet he lied to me for 3 years without saying a word. I was typing halfway through the message in the chat box when my mind wandered. Actually, in these 3 years, Lu Ruyan hadn't. He never asked me for anything. He said he'd work hard to earn money, to strive for our shared future. These were all my own choices. As for his initial approach with ulterior motives, and his later genuine feelings, I don't doubt it. Because motives can be faked, words can deceive, but subconscious reactions and eyes can't be acted out. Countless times I was busy with work and left him aside. When I finally finished and went to find him, I could clearly see the disappointment and loneliness on his face instantly transform into brightness and happiness. Once, my phone died on my way home from get off work, and he ran out in his slippers, searching for me for 2 whole hours, only to find I was already home. His first reaction was to hug me with red eyes, not to blame me. She's a simple girl, clear about her likes and dislikes. When protecting someone she likes, seeking revenge for a friend, she might have felt anxious. Torn between revealing the truth, facing the problem, and constantly delaying the conflict, she hesitated. Ultimately, the truth came out, and I became the one who was abandoned. Some people say that relationships between men and women are a game of strategy, where either the east wind prevails over the west wind, or the west wind prevails over the east wind. But I don't quite agree with that. I believe good relationships should be built on equality. But because of Lu Ruyan's deception, this relationship was unequal from the very beginning. He may have had his reasons, those actions that hurt me so deeply may have concealed his inescapable circumstances. But none of that matters to me, because we were never from the same world. We only loved each other briefly because of a lie. When the truth was revealed, we had to return to our own realities. So from the moment the lie was exposed, it was over between us. Thinking about all this, and looking at the words I typed in the chat box, I suddenly feel a little tired. Who is it that I've decided to let go of? There's really no need to dredge up memories and accusations again. I composed myself, deleted everything, and replaced it with one sentence. Lu Ruyan is getting engaged to Ito Makoto. His affairs are none of my business. The person on the other end of the line immediately exploded. Damn it! They were about to get engaged, why is he still bothering you? Is he crazy? He was still pretending to be all lovey-dovey with me today. I almost thought he really realized his mistake, I almost fell for his tricks. Good-looking people are always jerks. But Lao Shao, what are you going to do? Maybe expose him? I can't swallow this. After the other person calmed down, I said no need. Since you've broken up, there's no need to keep bothering him. Just ignore him. Okay, I understand. I promise I'll keep my mouth shut and won't give him another chance to harass you. By the way, how's it going over there? Is it hot in the south? Is it very different from here? Are you adjusting well to the company? Are your colleagues easy to get along with? In early May, the north is still in the transition between spring and summer, but Shenzhen, located in the south, is already in summer. I glanced at the same tall buildings and hurried pedestrians outside the hotel window, seemingly no different from this world. He said on the phone that it was a little hot, but bearable. I arrived early, I haven't reported to the company yet. The department manager personally picked me up from the airport. He seemed like a nice person. Song Yi immediately became alert and nervously asked the manager, "Why do you do such a small thing as picking someone up at the airport? Is it a man or a woman? It's not a middle-aged woman, is it? I heard you're very handsome, so you're trying to take advantage of me?" I chuckled and said, "Don't talk nonsense. The branch office has a young workforce. The manager isn't much older than me. Besides, the assistant had to take leave at the last minute, and they couldn't find anyone else to fill in, so they had to come personally." "You're so young and already a manager? That's impressive. What does she look like? Pretty, isn't she?" Because of Song Yi's question, I subconsciously recalled that, judging by her face alone, Yang Yi wasn't exactly cute. But at the airport, holding a sign and standing in the middle of a crowd, she did attract a lot of attention. I'd seen a topic online before, discussing whether cuteness or sexiness was more important. There were many different opinions, a heated debate. Only one concise statement stood out, taking the top spot: a true goddess possesses both cuteness and sexiness. Yang Yi perfectly embodies this statement. Her eyebrows and eyes are exquisite, her nose. Liang Tingxiao, with her perfectly proportioned figure, still attracted attention even in the most ordinary long, straight black hair and work clothes. Perhaps worried I was feeling down, Song Yi chatted with me about trivial things, reluctant to end the conversation. It was only when I took the initiative to tell him to hurry up and go to work that he reluctantly hung up. Before hanging up, he told me I felt bad and to not hold it in. I laughed and complained, "I know, don't act like an old lady." After hanging up, I felt a warmth in my heart. Because I was going to look at apartments in the afternoon, I grabbed my bag and went out to find a place to have lunch. On the way, I added the contact information of a rental agency. Yang Yi had recommended this agency to me. They were extremely efficient. After I sent them my requirements, they quickly matched me with 6 or 7 apartments. I scheduled viewings for the afternoon. For commuting convenience, I wanted to rent near my company, but without exception, they were all very expensive. A small 20 square meter single room cost 1,900 yuan excluding utilities. The kitchen was next to the bathroom, and the washing machine was squeezed next to the stove. After looking around, a shared apartment with a secondary bedroom for rent seemed the most suitable. It's a bit far from the company, but only about a kilometer away, within walking distance. The master bedroom has already been rented out to a woman. A man and a woman sharing an apartment sounds both ambiguous and exciting, but realistically, without the romantic drama filter, it's just trouble. The agent kept persuading me, saying the apartment had only been listed recently, was great value, and would be rented out quickly, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They also said the other tenant was a very nice person, definitely not a shady girl. The roommate had moved out for a new job, which made the second bedroom available. Plus, the apartment was perfect for me. After much deliberation, I finally listened to the agent and decided to wait until the other tenant got off work to see what she was like. Then the agent received a message saying the other tenant was back. When the door opened, Yang Yi walked in carrying a bag. Now I understood why Yang Yi had the agent's contact information saved on her phone. So it was you, Yang Yi said helplessly. Yes, the agent replied, caught in the middle, looking at me and then at him, before asking blankly. You two know each other? What a coincidence. We both gave a wry smile. It is quite a coincidence, but even so, I ultimately didn't choose to share an apartment with Yang Yi. After all, sharing an apartment with someone of the opposite sex is already ambiguous enough, and adding the added layer of being colleagues makes it incredibly awkward. I believe Yang Yi felt the same way. After saying goodbye to the agent, I took a taxi back to the hotel, planning to spend another day looking at the other rooms recommended by the agent. But I didn't expect Lu Ruyan to come. The hotel I stayed at was booked by the company, and even Song Yi didn't know the exact location. So when I saw Lu Ruyan lounging on the sofa in the hotel lobby, playing on her phone, her beauty attracting frequent stares, I was completely stunned. Was she deliberately coming to find me, or was it a coincidence? But either way, I really didn't want to have any more contact with her, so I raised my arm to shield my face, trying to quickly cross the lobby, but unexpectedly bumped into someone. It was a middle-aged man, slightly overweight and reeking of alcohol, leaning against the counter, looking down and lighting a cigarette. When I bumped into him, the lit lighter was directly pressed against his head, burning off. He noticed a tuft of hair on his forehead. The man had been drinking, so his reactions were noticeably slower. When he looked up at his hair, he even made eye contact. It wasn't until the smell of burning hair filled the air that he snapped back to reality, hastily rubbing out the flames on his head, then slamming the lighter to the ground. Can't you see where you're going? Sorry, I didn't see you. What nonsense! Am I blind? Can't you see? This roar drew the attention of almost everyone in the lobby, including Lu Ruyan. I'm not good at dealing with a drunk person, especially one who looks overwhelmingly like the person from my nightmare, makes my palms sweat instinctively. I want to escape, but there's no way. So I can only keep apologizing until someone runs over and uses their body to block the drunkard's insults. You just let him curse at me like that? I look up and meet Lu Ruyan's pained yet slightly aggrieved gaze. Even if you want to hide, you have to wait until I finish explaining. Before I can speak, the drunkard who was hurling insults gets impatient. And who are you, you little bitch? Mind your own business. Want to die? Can't you be quiet? You just want money, right? Is this enough? Lu Ruyan's eyes sharpened. She took off her wristwatch and threw it into the drunkard's arms. The $1 million watch successfully silenced the drunkard. But I couldn't let him run wild. We've broken up. We shouldn't have any further involvement. So I suppressed my feelings, walked past him, and stood in front of the drunkard. Excuse me, I don't know this person. Please return the watch to him. I'll pay whatever compensation you want for burning your hair. I don't have cash on me, so I can only show you the payment QR code to prove I'll pay. Lu Ruyan frowned, her emotions deepening. Zhao Jibwa, what are you doing? Are you trying to sever ties with me like this? Lu Ruyan, we've broken up, but I didn't want to break up with you. There are some things I can't tell you right now, but I can promise you, I will absolutely not marry Ito Makoto. Give me a little more time, okay? I'll break off the engagement with him immediately. No need, stop making a scene, okay? The drunkard's friend, seeing us arguing, finally realized something was wrong and came over to pull him away. But this had already attracted a crowd, with many secretly watching the scene. I turned to leave as well, but someone grabbed my arm. Can't you give me another chance? I know I lied to you, but I came here to apologize. I know I was wrong. Can't you forgive me just this once? 3 years of relationship, you just let it go like that? Is your heart made of stone? Her eyes were red, and she stared intently at me, ignoring the stares of others. This was the first time she had lost her composure since our breakup. I actually had a lot to say, but in the end, I didn't explain anything. I just pried open his fingers that were gripping my arm, creating distance between us, and said, "Lu Ruyan, we're not from the same world." Then I turned and got on the elevator, never looking back. So I don't know how he reacted after hearing that. Only after returning to my hotel room did I receive a text message from an unknown number. It only had 5 words, but I couldn't bear to let it go. I couldn't bear to let it go, but I didn't say what. I opened it and read. I deleted the message. After officially reporting to the company, I've been busy the whole time. While waiting for my lunch delivery, my colleague Sue sat next to me, looking at his phone for a short while. Suddenly, he excitedly exclaimed, "Look! My goddess is engaged online." He then held the phone up to my face. I finally saw the topic on the screen: Edo Makoto and the heiress of the Toyomasa group, quietly engaged. I was stunned and didn't say anything for a moment. Sue, however, thought I didn't know them and explained with a beaming smile, "Brother Xiao, you don't know. Do you know these two? Didn't you see the trending topics the other day? This couple is so sweet. The girl is a rich heiress, but she's liked Edo Makoto since childhood. However, despite years of pursuing him, she was always treated like a little sister. In a fit of anger, she left her wealthy family, worked hard without relying on her family, earned a high degree, and even started her own company. Then she made a powerful comeback, appearing at events to support her crush. The former little sister has grown into a stunning beauty, and her crush finally fell for her and accepted her. What? This is sweet love. So, their story is, well, to others. I don't know what to say. I can only awkwardly laugh and say I'm not interested. But then Xiao Shui, who had just opened a bottle of water, chimed in, "Are you stupid? What's sweet love? It's all fake. It's all business. What true love can there be in the entertainment industry? Only a fool like you would believe that." I have a friend who works in marketing, and she says these two aren't what they seem at all. That trending topic was just hype. Edo Makoto hired people to release press releases and stir up trouble to promote his company. The girl isn't. Wanting to get engaged was probably forced into this situation. They couldn't afford to completely break ties due to family influence, right? Sue glared at me, saying, "Don't talk nonsense. It's all true. If you don't believe me, fine." The two argued back and forth, but they couldn't avoid that person. I felt a bit stuffy in the lounge, so I got up to go outside for some fresh air, only to bump into Young Mi carrying coffee towards the lounge. After seeing me, she handed me a cup of coffee and asked with a smile if I had eaten. I shook my head, saying my takeout hadn't arrived yet. "Why didn't you go out to eat during your lunch break? It's too hot outside. Too lazy to move? Why not just stay in the lounge with the air conditioning on? It's too stuffy inside." That excuse was so lame, even I felt a little guilty. But Yang Yi didn't call me out. He put the coffee at the door, called someone inside to get it, and smiled, saying, "Perfect timing. I also feel stuffy in here. Why don't we stay together for a while?" I actually just wanted some alone time and didn't want to deal with social situations, but since he meant well, I couldn't refuse. The iced Americano was a bit bitter, and my stomach was empty, so I didn't dare drink too much. I muttered something under my breath. Yang Yi heard this and, seemingly out of nowhere, pulled out a few candies and put them in. In my palm, there were colorful candy wrappers, the kind that used to have shimmering holographic packaging. But my hand only held red, and red was indeed my favorite color. How could Yang Yi carry these around? And how did he know? Meeting my surprised gaze, Yang Yi suddenly smiled, though with a hint of helplessness. "You little liar. You've completely forgotten me. I should have known better than to return the candy I owed you." The familiar tone and address finally awakened my memory. "You were that short, bullied boy. When I was 8, I was boarding at my uncle's. My uncle's family. That year, my parents divorced and each remarried. My uncle felt sorry for me having no one to take care of me, so he took me in. My uncle and aunt are the kindest people in the world. They took very good care of me. But even the best care is still separated by a veil. My cousin would be beaten for doing wrong, would run away from home, and would be scolded by both parents for wanting to buy a cell phone. But even so, he never lacked anything he wanted. And I was always envious. When I missed my parents too much, I would skip school. It was during one of those times that I skipped school. In the afternoon, I met the little guy. He was squatting alone in a corner, huddled up in a ball despite wearing a pretty little dress. Several fierce-looking wolfhounds were beside him. I was scared too, but I still grabbed a stick and ran towards the dogs. The stray dogs, bullying the weak and fearing the strong, were chased away by me. I quickly helped him up and asked if he was all right. He said he was fine, just too hungry and couldn't outrun the dogs. He looked pitiful, and his stomach was growling. After thinking it over, I shared half of the candy I had saved up for a long time with him. His eyes. The light flickered. After wolfing down the candy, he swore he would repay me and buy me more. Before we parted, he asked where I lived and what my name was. I told him my name, but when I mentioned my address, another problem occurred to me. My uncle and aunt didn't know I was skipping school, nor did they know I had made a new friend. If this person came to my door with candy, wouldn't everything be exposed? So I lied and said I lived in the tallest house near the school. Anyway, I came to school every day, so we would see each other eventually. Later, we became friends. He told me about his parents arguing and his deskmate's new game. I also told him I missed home and told him to study hard and not care about what others said. But later, my uncle's job changed, and I had to move, so I transferred schools too. I really didn't expect that our reunion would be under these circumstances. I was surprised and a little curious. How do you still remember? And how did you recognize me? Yang Yi's expression was conflicted as he explained, do you remember? I said I would repay you. Actually, after that day. I've been saving money all this time, just to buy you candy. I smashed all my piggy banks and searched every supermarket and convenience store nearby. But when I wanted to give you the candy, I found out you gave me a fake address. So every day I had to empty my books before school and carry a backpack full of candy to look for you. But then the teacher found out and told my mom, and I got a severe beating. My house was even thrown away. I cried for days. How could I possibly forget? I never imagined that our meeting would have such a sequel. I'm a little. Guilt lingered. Suppressing a laugh, I apologized. I moved later. This incident hurt me too much. I can't forgive you so easily. Then call the police. Yang Yi was taken aback by my sudden response, then burst into laughter. Her bright and cheerful smile dispelled much of the pent-up frustration I'd been carrying. Returning to the break room with my takeout, I was surprised to find the previously tense atmosphere completely transformed. The two who had been arguing fiercely were now huddled together, intently staring at their phones. The screen. This should be considered a public relations crisis, right? Oh no, the page crashed. It won't load. Can you exit and re-enter? The two were so serious that even when Yang Yi and I entered, they only exchanged brief greetings. Yang Yi quickly asked, you two are watching so intently? Xiao Shui refreshed the page several times, seemingly without success, before finally looking up to explain, something big has happened. Come and get some gossip. Didn't Ito Makoto just announce his engagement? All sorts of marketing accounts were praising it. But now, someone's leaking information that a fight broke out at the engagement ceremony. I frowned and subconsciously asked what? The exact details are unclear, but a paparazzi sneaked in and filmed the chaotic engagement scene. It said the woman had no idea about the engagement and was tricked into going. After finding out what happened, she immediately flew into a rage. Eventually, the woman's sister struck first. The leaked video was blurry, and the filming distance was too far, so there's no sound. However, Makoto Ito was a celebrity with high recognizability, and his expensive suit and flawless, handsome appearance made him incredibly eye-catching. The video begins recording from the moment Lu Ruyan walks into the venue. The venue is lavishly decorated, and everyone is dressed in suits and formal wear. Therefore, when Lu Ruyan, dressed casually, enters, she immediately attracts most of the attention. Ito Makoto approaches her, but she dodges him. He then questions her with an annoyed expression, but the conversation seems to be going poorly. Lu Ruyan coldly turns on him and overturns the engagement sign with their photo on it. Imyuki rushes out and grabs Lu Ruyan's hair, causing chaos. Security guards approach, and the person filming is discovered. The video abruptly ended. Sue and Chi-Chi are so pitiful. My favorite couple died in less than an hour. And some people say that Lu Ruyan had a boyfriend in private long ago, whom she met while doing her master's degree at a university, and they even lived together. Everyone said that guy was a gold digger. But now, she's causing a scene at her engagement party for that guy. Goddess, you're so foolish. What do you mean, for that guy? Xiao Shui chimes in to Sue, you're too naive. These rich heiresses have all sorts of wild adventures. How could she have only had one relationship? If you ask me. He's just a total scumbag. He hasn't had enough fun, so he doesn't want to get engaged. There aren't that many reasons. Sister Yang, brother Xiao, don't you think that's the case? Yang Yi said she didn't know the whole story and wouldn't comment. I really didn't want to join the conversation, so I just shook my head. When I got home from get off work, I was supposed to clean the room first, but seeing all the packages and unopened boxes that Song Yi had sent, I got lazy. Anyway, I'd already taken out the necessities, so it wouldn't hurt to unpack these later. Thinking that, I decided to ignore it and took a shower. When I came out wrapped in a towel, I noticed several missed calls on my phone from unknown numbers, but the location showed Shenzhen. Maybe it was a delivery. Thinking that, I called back, but it turned out to be the hotel I stayed at before. The receptionist said someone had mistakenly sent my package to the hotel and they couldn't contact the sender, so they could only ask for my current address. They said I'd have to run errands to handle it myself. Who sent me something, and to the hotel? Could it be Song Yi who made a mistake? Although I didn't know. What is Chu Dongxi? But it's really not good to bother them. The front desk could only give me my current address and contact information, telling the delivery person to call after delivering it. After hanging up, I asked Song Yi if he had sent anything to the hotel. He denied it, leaving me full of doubt. I could only message Yang Yi again to confirm if the company had made a mistake with my address and the documents sent, but Yang Yi didn't know either. I could only continue to wait. Finally, half an hour later, the delivery person knocked on the door. Without thinking much, I opened the door, only to find Lu Ruyan standing outside. She was dressed in all black, wearing a baseball cap, and carrying a huge suitcase. Her bangs were pulled down by the cap, partially obscuring her eyes. She stood in the shadows of the hallway, and I could vaguely see the corners of her red lips. I couldn't help but think of the scene in the video where Imushi pulled his hair. How could it be you? Did you bribe the hotel to force them to reveal my address? He shook his head. No, they wouldn't tell me, so I sent a package to the hotel and had the delivery person drop it off and run away to see how they would handle it. Then, sure enough, they called you. While running the errand, I overheard the address. This experience was so eventful that my first reaction upon hearing it was that I didn't know whether to report him for harassment or praise him for being so capable. Just as I was trying to gather my thoughts to get rid of him, he suddenly closed his eyes and fell straight at me. I was startled and instinctively caught him. His hat was knocked off, and in the light of the room, I noticed that his face was flushed, and the skin on my wrist that I had briefly touched was burning hot. He had a fever. He was lying on the carpet, trying to get up. It seemed like a high fever, as his reddened eyes were glistening with tears, and he was muttering something in a hoarse voice. I leaned closer to hear what he was saying. I'm sorry, brother. I was wrong. Just as I was wondering what to do with him, I heard hurried footsteps in the hallway. Then, a panting Yang Yi appeared at the door. Xiao Jibua, are you alright? I called you but you didn't answer. But I heard there are some delivery scams lately. The door opened. Yang Yi first looked at Lu Ruyan, who was lying unconscious on the floor, then at me squatting beside her. He then changed his tune, slightly bewildered. What happened? I quickly explained. I just left my phone charging in the bedroom, that's why I didn't answer the call. I wasn't involved in any delivery scams. Sorry you made a wasted trip. Yang Yi shook his head. It's okay, I was just too nervous and overthinking it. After helping me to the sofa, Yang Yi said goodbye. If you have nothing else, I'll be going now. I followed him to the door, but after he turned and took a step, he turned back and said, May I ask who that is to you? He was clearly referring to Lu Ruyan. But it's always strange for an ex to suddenly show up. I didn't want my personal relationship to become office gossip, so I lied. My cousin's younger sister had a fight with her parents and ran away from home. Yang Yi glanced at the suitcase by the door, seemed relieved, and said with a smile, Teenagers are all like that, running away from home at the drop of a hat. I casually agreed and saw her off. Yang Yi closed the door, only then noticing that the person on the sofa had woken up sometime earlier and was staring straight at me. Xiao Jibua, who's your sister? She asked, her voice hoarse from the fever. She was weak all over, but still defiant, propping herself up on her arms. And who's that woman? She asked. Is she your new girlfriend? Are you with her despite me, or do you really like her? Her breathing was slightly erratic, her fan-like eyelashes drooping, casting a small shadow on her face, like a neglected puppy. I looked away. I won't go see her. Trespassing is illegal. If you leave now, I won't call the police. But he stubbornly stared at me, stood up, and asked again, Is that woman really your new girlfriend? Did you come to Shenzhen because of her? She had lost weight, making her small face appear even more pale and delicate. I stepped back, clearing the doorway, and said, Yes, I really like her. So what you're doing is seriously disrupting my life. I don't believe you're lying. His eyes were filled with sorrow, and his voice trembled almost imperceptibly. I smiled, a slight smirk playing on my lips as I looked at him. Why would I lie to you? Lu Ruyan, you don't really think you're that important, do you? Someone with your qualifications, I heard even a monthly fee starts at 5,000. I've been getting this for free for 3 years, I should at least treat you well. Or are you misunderstanding? Do you really think I like you a lot? The person in front of me instantly paled, the emotion in his eyes slowly shifting from sadness to disbelief, and finally anger. I stood in the room, watching him awkwardly drag his suitcase away, not even turning his head as he went down the stairs. Only then did I pick up my phone from the table to reply to a text message. He's gone, he probably won't come back. He replied instantly, I heard everything. Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Chow. The video has been destroyed. He also sent a statement saying that if the video were to leak in the future, the other party would be fully responsible and would have to pay huge compensation. I didn't read it and deleted the chat box directly. Then, my hands and feet turned ice cold as I squatted on the ground, covering my face with my hands. I received this message on the way. The person who contacted me was Ito Makoto. He sent me a video I once thought would never be seen by anyone in my life. The video records my most embarrassing and unforgettable past. Back in college, my first part-time job was working as a receptionist at a karaoke bar. A drunk man asked me to lead him to the restroom. Being young and inexperienced, I genuinely thought it was just a simple matter of showing him the way. But when we reached the corner of the corridor, he suddenly leaned in and started touching me. That was the first time I realized that some men would do the same to other men. I was stunned for a moment before I came to my senses, struggling frantically and shouting for help. Seeing my violent reaction, the man finally sobered up, cursed, and said, "Damn it, what are you pretending for? Are you afraid I'll call the police?" He then pulled out 5,000 yuan and threw it in front of me, telling me not to make a fuss. 5,000 yuan was exactly my tuition for a year. It would have given me the confidence to quit my karaoke job, stop working night shifts, and allow me to focus on my studies and strive for scholarships for at least a year, instead of struggling to pay my tuition. I took the money and on my way back to school, I kept telling myself, I'm a guy, it doesn't matter. 5,000 yuan is a lot. It's a blessing in disguise. Anyway, I'll never go to that place again, and I'll never see that person again. Even so, after returning to my dorm that day, I still took many showers. And for a long time afterward, seeing any middle-aged man with glasses and who was overweight made me feel physically nauseous and want to vomit. Knock, 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 someone knocked on the door. I snapped out of my daze and called out, "Who is it? There's something for you in the delivery." When the door opened, a delivery man in a uniform carried a large bunch of bright yellow sunflowers. Sunflowers symbolize faith, brilliance, pride, loyalty, and sunshine. They represent silent love, open and honest love, and unwavering devotion. They also symbolize the courage to pursue whatever one desires. Along with the flowers came a letter, an apology letter handwritten by Lu Ruyan. "Brother, this is a letter I wrote long ago, but I didn't know how to give it to you. I'm sorry. Back then, I didn't want to agree to Yamuxi's plan to get revenge on you. I thought he was childish and foolish, and there was no need for him to bully an ordinary person like that. So, the moment he made that request, I refused. He repeatedly pleaded and begged, but I ignored him. Until that night, when we had arranged to meet, Yamuxi dragged everyone to the coffee shop where you worked part-time. He brought people to cause trouble. I didn't want to get involved, so I waited in the car. Through the coffee shop's glass, I saw them yelling at you and deliberately splashing coffee on you. That was the first time I saw you. I thought you would endure it, like someone who had been bullied. A pushover, used to taking all the blame. But you didn't. You calmly demanded he pay, not only for the laundry and cleaning fees, but also for your emotional distress. You said there were security cameras in the shop, and you would call the police. Imushi was stunned by you, and I was surprised too. Surprised that you were so different from what I had imagined. And at the same time, I finally understood why Imushi was so determined to target me. I watched the drama unfold from my car, thoroughly enjoying it, until you were reprimanded by the manager without any explanation and lost your job. You walked out of the coffee shop with your head held high, like a proud warrior. Sitting in the car, I knew you were upset. I rolled down the window, wanting to ask if you were alright, but you just walked past without even glancing at me. I muttered under my breath, "Those bad guys, from now on, there won't be any seasoning packets in my instant noodles." You gritted your teeth in anger, but showed no sign of giving in. It was from that moment that I suddenly thought that if pursuing you could stop Imushi from bothering you, it wouldn't be so bad. So I agreed to Imushi's request, concealing my identity to get closer to you and understand you. Those 3 years we spent together were the most happiness. Also the most painful days. Because I love you. Because I lied to you. And the longer it dragged on, the more intense the pain became. I even fantasized that if things really dragged on long enough, you and Imushi would forget each other, and the lie would fall apart. But I was wrong again. Because lies don't fade with time, they only become harder to explain the longer it drags on. Until the truth came out, and you knew my identity, I realized what a foolish mistake I had made. I really know I was wrong. Brother, can you forgive me? And give me another chance. Excuse me, could you please sign for this? Hearing the reminder, I snapped back to reality. After signing, I took the bouquet and placed it in the corner. The cramped, dimly lit rented room seemed to be illuminated by a beam of light. But my vision was blurred by tears, and that distant brightness seemed even more unattainable. We were never from the same world. You are a chosen one, radiant and dazzling, not someone who has to swallow your pride and compromise for someone. I don't care about that video, it's my past. Although it wasn't honorable, it was the best choice I made back then after weighing the pros and cons for the sake of survival. Even if that video were released, in my current situation, it wouldn't cause me any harm. I'm just an ordinary person, not reliant on the internet for a living. If things escalate, my company or colleagues might criticize me, but I can always quit and find another job. In the adult world, reputation and others' opinions are important, but workability and a strong heart are the foundation for survival. I'm not afraid of that video being released. It's just that Ito Makoto's phone call reminded me once again that Lu Ruyan and I were never from the same world from the beginning. We met when we were at our lowest point, relying on each other for survival, but we are ultimately different. Earlier today, I received a message from Ito Makoto saying he wanted to discuss Lu Ruyan. I don't know what Ito Makoto wanted to do by contacting me, but I found a quiet place and answered the call. He said a lot, saying that my background wasn't good enough for Lu Ruyan, and that a marriage between wealthy families was the most stable arrangement. Even if I insisted on being with Lu Ruyan, I could only be a third party. And most importantly, he told me that after I offended Imushi, his initial idea for revenge wasn't so frivolous. A pampered young lady, born with a silver spoon in her mouth and spoiled by her family, rich and powerful, arrogant and disdainful of others, after being beaten and humiliated, he went crazy wanting revenge. He spent a fortune just to have someone investigate me, and even threatened to reward me handsomely if he could find any dirt on me. The surveillance footage of me taking money from a man at the karaoke bar ended up in his hands. Imushi was overjoyed. He was planning to post the video online, along with my personal information, on a university's campus website. Male college student makes money like this? His clients are all gay. This was a headline he'd already planned enough to ruin my reputation, and if it got out of hand, I might even be expelled. Lu Ruyan stopped him, saying he shouldn't ruin someone else's life over an unintentional mistake. Mushi disagreed, but he was hesitant about releasing the video because of Lu Ruyan's concern that he would also get into trouble if the victim reported it to the police. He began to waver. And when he saw the girls who sent love letters to Lu Ruyan, their faces filled with sadness after being politely rejected, suddenly had an idea. One of them said, "Sister Ruyan, why don't you help me get revenge? Go after that poor boy, and once he falls in love with you, dump him hard. He'll be heartbroken. I promise, as long as you help me get revenge, I'll do whatever you ask." As Lu Ruyan wrote in her letter, he initially refused, but Imushi's relentless pursuit made him somewhat reluctant. This led to this absurd revenge that lasted 3 years. After Ruyan fell completely in love, he began to stall for time. Whenever Imushi came to urge him to hurry, Lu Ruyan would say she didn't like him enough and needed more time to cultivate their relationship. But spring turned to autumn, seasons changed, and 3 whole years passed. Even the oblivious Imushi finally realized something was wrong. That night was Lu Ruyan's father's birthday, and he had to go back. It just so happened that Ito Makoto was attending an event and was being harassed by the organizers. Imushi, whose driving skills were mediocre, begged Lu Ruyan to go to the event with him to support Ito Makoto. But little did he know, while waiting for Imushi in the car. While negotiating with the event organizers, he was secretly filmed because of his striking good looks. The video went viral, and Ito Makoto's team, disregarding the facts, fueled the hype, causing the trending topic to rise even higher. Lu Ruyan was frantic, fearing that seeing the video would lead to misunderstandings about his relationship with Ito Makoto. She hurriedly tried to suppress the trending topic and completely blocked the video online. However, Imushi sensed something amiss in his unusually emotional state and questioned Lu Ruyan about who was suppressing the trending topic for, asking if she had fallen for him and was therefore delaying breaking up with him. Meanwhile, the video climbed to the top of the trending list. Song-yi sent it to me. Lu Ruyan was in a state of utter confusion. But in front of Mushi, she still dared not admit it, because she was afraid Mushi might not realize the gravity of the situation and find me doing something she shouldn't. Therefore, she could only break up with me in front of Mushi, and then bring Mushi to me, hoping that after that charade, Mushi would get what she wanted and stop harassing me. But Yi Nianting was much smarter than Yi Mushi. He saw through Lu Ruyan's helplessness and used this to blackmail her. The Yi family started in the supermarket business. They were a large and wealthy family. However, in recent years, the market has been sluggish, and the physical economy has been impacted by e-commerce, causing the business to slowly decline. In order to maintain the family's honor and with the help of Lu Ruyan's family, the business was to be transformed. The proposal was to get engaged to Lu Ruyan, a business marriage. The two didn't need to be in a real relationship, they just needed to maintain the facade of an engagement. The bargaining chip was that video, and the promise that Yi Mushi could never come near me again. The surveillance footage from that year had long been deleted. Edo Makoto held the last backup. Lu Ruyan agreed. But after he finished everything, he discovered he had been blocked by me. So he could only force himself to focus on acting in front of Yi Mushi and relatives and friends, intending to come back to me after resolving these matters and explain everything. But he didn't expect me to leave directly. He was a non-drinker, but during that time he got drunk many times. When he was still sober, he would drive back to the apartment building and stare at the window where I used to live until the light came on and then went out. He wouldn't go home until dawn when the curtains were drawn. But that night, he waited all night, but the light never came on. He thought something had happened to me, but when he ran upstairs, he found I was gone. The landlord was tidying up the room. The clothes and shoes I bought for him were all out and thrown on the floor, a complete mess. His eyes reddened, and he squatted down in the room, sobbing uncontrollably. The landlord was startled, and the neighbors almost called the police, but he calmed down and told the landlord he was willing to pay for all the clutter and rent the room at a higher price. This was all what I learned from the landlord when I went to find Lu Ruyan after she disappeared. On the other end of the phone, Edo Makoto's voice was calm and low. Mr. Shao, do you know? Lu Ruyan has always hated me, hated us people who sell our marriages for the sake of family businesses and profits. But for you, for that surveillance footage, he still agreed to my request and got engaged to me. Don't you find it ironic? From a profit perspective, marrying Lu Ruyan is the most suitable marriage combination. He's a smart man, and I don't dislike him. This marriage can promote cooperation between the two families, and with my family's help, he'll gain his parents' approval faster and inherit the family business. He really likes you and has done so much for you. But what have you done for him? What can you do for him? I heard you can't even afford a house now. I did lie. I meticulously planned that engagement ceremony, intending to make it real. I thought if he had any sense, he would realize that marrying me was the most worthwhile thing to do. But because of you, he lost all reason. He disrupted the engagement ceremony, becoming a laughingstock in the whole circle, and stubbornly went to you to explain, further angering his family. A not-so-bright heir, even with blood ties, will lose their inheritance rights. It's already difficult for a woman to inherit the family business. Mr. Shao, do you really want to make her lose everything? I remained silent for a long time. I didn't want to, and I couldn't bear to, so I could only remain indifferent and force her to leave. Back to the present, I stared at that bouquet of flowers for a long time, until my eyes ached, before finally, reluctantly, I turned off the light, watching as darkness swallowed the ray of light, and everything fell silent. For the next few days, I wasn't feeling well. Fortunately, the exhibition preparations were in their final stages, making things relatively easier. Even though I was daydreaming the whole time, I didn't cause any trouble. Every day, I looked forward to getting off work and going home to rest. But today, as I went up the stairs, I noticed the door to the next room was open, with a lot of luggage piled up outside, including a pink suitcase. The previous tenants had just moved out last week, and new tenants had moved in today. The apartment wasn't very soundproof. I hoped the new tenants wouldn't be like that couple, arguing in the middle of the night. Thinking this, I couldn't help but glance at it a few more times, and inexplicably, the pink suitcase looked strangely familiar. A bad premonition suddenly welled up inside me. The next second, someone walked out of the room. She was wearing a short-sleeved shirt, blue jeans, and her long, black hair was swept to one side, revealing Lu Ruyan's delicate and beautiful face. She was about to bend down to pick up. Standing in the old, cramped apartment building, I felt an inexplicable sense of incongruity. I was so surprised that I forgot to take the key out of the lock halfway through turning it. Why are you still here? Didn't you leave? Lu Ruyan straightened up and looked at me. I had intended to leave, but I had upset my boyfriend, and he didn't want to come home with me, so I had to do everything I could to win him back until he changed his mind. As he said this, his gaze was fixed on my face. But hearing his words, I didn't know how to react. Fortunately, he didn't wait for my answer. All right, I can tell you didn't sleep well by looking at your dark circles. Go back and rest. After I'm settled, I'll treat you to a housewarming party, as neighbors, of course. Your girlfriend shouldn't mind, right? Because of her illness, her voice was a little hoarse, and her beautiful eyes were smiling, just like when we first met. Back then, she caught up with me on her bicycle, the sunlight shining on her face, her teasing voice carried on the wind. "Hey classmate, aren't you sure you won't bump into a tree while walking and reading?" What did I say? I said no. But the next second, I was so distracted by her that I almost bumped into a lamppost. He stopped his car and stood there, smiling at me. Back to the present, Lu Ruyan is still looking at me, seemingly waiting for my answer. I suppressed my strange heartbeat, looked away, and coldly said, "I used it. I don't have the habit of making friends with strange neighbors. He shouldn't stay here, he should go back to his world." After Lu Ruyan moved in next door, he would often come knocking on my door for some inexplicable little things. After a while, I knew he had ulterior motives, so I simply ignored him or acted coldly, hoping he would give up. I don't know if his conflict with his parents has been resolved. I have no right to ask, so I can only worry haphazardly. But since he moved in, the originally dark hallway has become brighter day by day. Several shelves have appeared in the stairwell, filled with various ornaments and brightly colored items. The dolls. I even saw a flower pot at his door, with a sunflower growing in it, blooming wildly towards the only small window in the hallway. But the flowers seemed to have been unwatered for days, looking a bit wilted. Perhaps he'd figured things out, gone home to think about something? Xiaogu felt a tap on his shoulder. He snapped back to reality and realized it was Su Wei. He smiled and said, "Tomorrow is the last day of the auto show. We'll have a 5-day holiday starting the day after tomorrow. Xiaogu, do you have any plans?" I rubbed my neck and said, "I'll probably sleep for a day and a night first. I've been coming to oversee the site every day at 7 a.m. Even a god couldn't keep up." Because of the holiday, the team members, who had been working non-stop for over a month, were visibly excited. The afternoon's activities wrapped up, cleaning up the site, organizing materials, taking a group photo, and then it was all over. After get off work, I threw down my bag and collapsed onto the bed, utterly exhausted and without any desire for anything. Just as I was drifting off to sleep, the phone rang. It was Song Yi calling. Only then did I remember what he had said. I was coming to Shenzhen this weekend, so I quickly perked up and answered the phone. I asked Lao Son what date I bought my plane ticket, but the person on the other end was unexpectedly excited. "Wait, let's talk about the ticket. Did you see the trending topics? Ito Makoto announced his retirement from the entertainment industry and got married." Hearing Song Yi's words, I became more sober. I instinctively gripped my phone and asked when this happened. Someone had leaked the news a couple of days ago, but not many people believed it. Fans were still denying it everywhere, saying that Ito Makoto's career was on the rise and he wouldn't retire. But just now, his studio officially announced it, even showing off their marriage certificate. I subconsciously repeated those 3 words, marriage certificate, feeling conflicted. When I saw that potted plant after get off work, I was wondering if he had really given up and returned to Beijing. But now that my guess was confirmed, I didn't feel relieved as I expected. Instead, it felt like a huge stone was pressing on my chest, making it hard to breathe. Actually, this was exactly the result I wanted. I was cold and harsh with him, and firmly rejected him. That was exactly what I wanted. To get him to leave and return to what he should be doing, Song Yi was still talking on the other end of the phone, but I couldn't hear a word he said. I had to interrupt him. He said, "Old Song, I have something to do here. How about I call you back when I'm done?" The phone hung up, and the rented room returned to silence. I don't know how long I lay in bed, watching the light outside the window gradually dim, turning gray. A bird flew by in the evening, and then there was a knock on the door. "Who is it?" I got up blankly and answered the door, but unexpectedly, I saw Lu Ruyan through the peephole. She had cut her hair short, and without her long hair to cover it, her neck, which was fully exposed, looked even longer and more slender. "What are you doing here? You've reconciled with your ex after getting married and want my blessing." My feelings were complicated. I opened the door, but he just waved the ingredients in his hand at me, his expression normal. "Want to come to my house for hot pot? I promised to treat you to a meal after I moved in." "No, I won't eat." But he still wouldn't give up. "Are you really afraid your girlfriend will be unhappy?" His tone was still teasing. Even the best temper loses its patience. "Lu Ruyan, what do you mean? Since you're married, can you please stop bothering me?" Hearing this, Lu Ruyan froze. "What did you say about marriage?" she asked, her expression blank, as if she knew absolutely nothing about it. I was too lazy to say anything more and turned to close the door, but he pushed me into the room. "Xiao Jibua, what are you saying? Who else could I marry besides you? This guy won't admit defeat until he's faced with a corner." I simply took out my phone and checked the trending topics to find evidence for him. Sure enough, Song Yi hadn't lied to me at all. Ito Makoto retires from the entertainment industry and gets married. These hashtags firmly occupied the trending list. I randomly clicked on one and found a picture of a marriage certificate. I wanted to show it to Lu Ruyan, but after zooming in, I noticed something was wrong. I didn't recognize the woman on the marriage certificate. Looking closer, the name wasn't Lu Ruyan's. How could this be? I was stunned. Lu Ruyan leaned closer to look at my phone screen. After seeing clearly, she breathed a sigh of relief and said helplessly, "You thought I married Ito Makoto?" I didn't answer. Then it belatedly dawned on me that Song Yi had only told me Ito Makoto was married, but hadn't mentioned whether the marriage partner was Lu Ruyan. I had been mistaken. Realizing this, I felt terrible. Lu Ruyan smiled, her eyes crinkling, and patiently explained, "Yesterday I went back to Beijing. I also attended Makoto Ito's wedding. But more importantly, to explain your existence to my parents and how important you are to me, I need to clear up their misunderstandings so I can bring you home openly. Makoto Ito just wanted a marriage of convenience. He doesn't like me at all. He had something on me before, so I had to play along. Now I've resolved all that. You said we're from different worlds, so we can't be together. But you forgot, the moment I fell in love with you, I entered your world. I love this world and don't want to leave. So can you give me a chance? Don't be in such a hurry to drive me away. Wait until I do something wrong, then you can kick me out." His gaze was gentle yet firm, making my heart ache. His voice was nasal as he spoke. "You want me to think about it? You're just going to think about it yourself? You don't need to listen to your girlfriend's opinion?" He deliberately emphasized the word girlfriend, his eyes sparkling with a playful glint. Then I remembered I'd lied to him to force him to leave, telling him Yang Yi was my girlfriend. But looking at him like this, he clearly knew I was lying. "When did you find out? I couldn't bear to see you kicked out. I wanted to see you one last time. But then I realized this place wasn't soundproof. Someone was talking in their sleep that night. Everyone was calling my name. And that guy named Yang Yi, he lives so close to you, yet you always walk separately from him after get off work." I was stunned. I hadn't realized I'd given myself away from the very beginning. But after a while, it belatedly dawned on me. "Wait, how did you know where Yang Yi lives?" "That's a secret." He smiled, a hint of smugness in his eyes. "Let's go get some hot pot." I followed him to his place, but as soon as I entered, I froze. There were so many familiar things inside, it was almost overwhelming. From wardrobes and full-length mirrors to slippers and decorations, everything was something I'd left with the landlord when I moved out of my current home because I couldn't take it with me. How did all these things get here? Lu Ruyan had already entered the kitchen and was skillfully washing the vegetables. Hearing this, she said somewhat awkwardly, "To save money, I had them shipped over. Including this mattress. Because the mattress in my rented apartment was too thin, my sleep quality has always been very poor. When I first moved in, I hesitated for a long time before finally spending a fortune of 500 yuan on a latex mattress. We split the cost. When we moved, I realized that bringing the mattress to Shenzhen would be incredibly expensive, so I had to regretfully give up. But Lu Ruyan actually brought all these random things over. The shipping cost of these things already exceeded the original price. How could it be to save money?" I chuckled, looking at her bright red ears. The truth wasn't revealed. But something's not right. If he's so rich, why did he pretend to be poor in the first place? Thinking this, I went straight to the quality inspection. Lu Ruyan coughed lightly and explained, "Didn't I boast to my family that I was different from other rich kids, that I could finish university by working part-time? I even forced them to freeze my card. Later, I realized something was wrong, and it was too late to regret it. I could only bite the bullet and do part-time jobs. You might not believe it, but I was really poor back then." The phone rang. When I answered, I saw it was Yang Yi calling. "The auto show is over, and the department is holding a celebration banquet. He asked when I was free so we could schedule a time. I'm free these few days. Let's arrange the time at home," Yang Yi said, hanging up the phone decisively after receiving the answer. Only then did he notice the sound of washing vegetables in the kitchen had long since stopped. A head peeked out from the doorway, eavesdropping. Seeing this, I felt a surge of amusement and decided to tease him. "I might be having dinner with someone tomorrow," I said. But before I could finish, he walked out, a smug look on his face, and said, "Now you have to report to me even when you're having dinner with someone. You do care about me." I couldn't help but laugh. He was someone who had seen so much of my coldness, yet remained so gentle. What was the point of teasing him? On a deep summer night, I ate hot pot with Lu Ruyan. He was speechless from the spiciness of the 9-compartment hot pot, but he had planted sunflowers all over the balcony, welcoming me into his world. Thank you for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a comment below.